The intention a lot of times is for them to prove that they can be trusted. But inevitably, when you do this type of thing, you already don't trust them. So you're trying to get them to prove to be trustworthy when you already don't trust them. And so we need to look at the reason why you already don't trust them, see if that's justified. And then my question is, why are you forcing yourself to be in a relationship with someone that you already don't trust? Answer that question, okay? And come holler at your girl, okay? Come holler at your girl. Hi, I'm Dr. Tiff, your relationship transformation coach. I've spent the past 20 years working with high-achieving women just like you who are crushing it in every area of their lives, everywhere except their relationships. And look, I get it. Finding the one ain't easy, and relationships are hard, but you know what's even harder? Cycling through the bad ones, or worse, staying in relationships when you already know they're not a good fit. You want a relationship of ease, uncomplicated, someone to love you down, but instead you've been suffering through bad dates, sexual incompatibility, and someone who might be good for somebody, but not for you. And if we're really being honest, you know that deep down, the work that really needs to be done starts and ends with you. If you're done wasting time in dead-end relationships and sick of looking for, chasing after, or trying to convince somebody to be the one, and you're ready to become the one, then baby, you're in the right place. So prop your feet and let's clink glasses, because I'm giving you the tea and the tips to fix your relationships. Let's go. Hey there, welcome to Fix Your Relationships podcast. I'm Dr. Tiff. I'm so happy to have you join me today. I want to begin this episode by just saying thank you so very much to those of you who have left reviews for the podcast. You guys know I've been begging really. And I don't know why y'all want me to beg, but I have been begging you guys to review the podcast, to let me know how it's working for you, if the information is landing. And you guys have really been showing up. I got some 5-star reviews from my people, and I really do appreciate it. And I just want to read one because it really did warm my heart. It made me feel so good. Let me see if I can pull it up. Here we go. And so this review is from our friend Cece Holtz. Thank you so much. She left a 5-star review, and it's entitled, the subject reads, "Girl, I need to let go too. Man, I think I know which episode she listened to. Okay. So her review says, you had me at leave room for the Holy Spirit. What if I just let go instead of holding on? Things might turn out amazing. That's not just a lesson for relationships, but for life. Thank you, Dr. Tiff. No, thank you, CC Holtz. I have been trying over the past several episodes just to kind of leave some room, not to over plan my episodes, but to come in as a little bit more authentic, but also just to leave room for whatever might come up. I know that in doing this podcast, I place your needs above mine, meaning that I have kind of an agenda of what I want to discuss, but I also know that I want to make sure that you get what you need out of this podcast. And if I over prepare, I may not provide that for you. And so I just kind of leave room for things to happen organically and for things to come up. And so that is what I mean when I say I'm leaving room for the Holy Spirit, because sometimes, honey, I may not have it all planned out, but the episode comes out amazing anyway. And, when we hold on to things, that is us trying to control things. When we over plan for things, that's us trying to control things. And sometimes when you just let go a little bit, things turn out amazing, and in a way that they might not have had we not left that room. So Cece, thank you so much for recognizing my gangster, recognizing what I'm doing, and supporting the podcast. And I would appreciate it if you haven't left a review already, please do so. Please feel free to go on down to the Apple Podcast. And if you go to the podcast, the actual show for the podcast, and just scroll down to where it says ratings and reviews. And underneath that, there's some purple writing and a little box that says write a review. You click write a review, give your girl a 5-star. Okay. Because why wouldn't you? And then just let me know how you are liking the podcast and if it's resonating with you. So thank you so much, CC Holtz, and thank you everybody that has already written a review. And thank you in advance for the review you are going to write. Amen. Man. All right. So today's episode, I want to talk to you about the things that you may be doing that sabotage your romantic relationships, right? Now, what is sabotage, or better yet, what is self-sabotage? Self-sabotage is when we engage in behaviors or thoughts that really undermine our goals, our success, our well-being, the things that we want in our relationships. And sometimes it's consciously, because sometimes we consciously do something to undermine the relationship. And then sometimes it's just unconscious. We don't realize we're doing it. We don't realize that we're setting ourselves up for failure, even though that is what could be happening in the relationship. It's a pattern of actions or thoughts that really contradict what you consciously desire or intend to achieve. Just to kind of give you a reference, we'll get back to relationships in a second, but one way that we sabotage ourselves, and I am so guilty of this is me all day, up and down, okay? Procrastination. Procrastination, friends, is self-sabotage, right? When you know that you have something that you need to be doing, but you choose to do something else. And then later on, it comes back to bite you because you're behind the 8 ball. You're scrambling, trying to do things. I procrastinate on a daily basis. I like to say that I am a professional procrastinator. I'm working on it, but I'm not there yet. Okay. I'm not there yet. And I know I'm not alone. It happens every single day, but that is a way that we self-sabotage this procrastination. I remember, and this is really a side note, but I remember in college when I first recognized, I guess I always knew I was a procrastinator, but I recognized my pattern in college. I would have papers due and I just would put them off. And, I would get down to like the last 2 days before something was due. And because of the intensity of the overwhelming anxiety of this thing hanging over my head, I would hyper focus. Now, this is part procrastination and part my undiagnosed ADHD, right? So I would hyper focus, get it all done, like really rally, get the paper done, do the best work, get like an A or a B on it, right? And then this is the bad part. Because I got a good enough grade on whatever it was that I turned in, it reinforced my procrastination. So it's a horrible pattern, a horrible setup for someone like me who wants to procrastinate anyway, and wait till the last minute when you're positively reinforced for negative behavior. Not a good look for you, girl. So procrastination, yes, one way in which we sabotage ourselves because it never feels good. Like it never feels good to be that anxious and that late on something and having to scramble at the last minute. So it doesn't really work out. Doesn't really work out in the end because it creates a horrible pattern of this a horrible cycle, if you will. So, but how does this show up in relationships? So today I really want to talk to you about ways in which you might be sabotaging your romantic relationships. And what I mean by that is you might be doing something consciously or unconsciously that undermines the success of your relationship rather than it benefiting your relationship. It's actually causing your relationship harm. And it could be the reason why some of your relationships aren't working out. So I have about 10, I think, here. We'll see how many we get to. And like I said, they're conscious and unconscious, and they're not in any particular order. So I'm not going to say the number one way, right? I do have a number 1. I also have a number 10. Take from the list what you will. If you hear anything that sounds true, if you hear anything that says, oh, I might have done that, you could be sabotaging a relationship. And we don't want that for you. We don't want that for you because we're trying to fix relationships here, not harm them. Okay? So, number 1, cheating. Cheating is a way in which we sabotage our relationships. Now, this one came up first as I was making this list because I had a conversation with someone about a week or so ago, and we were talking about things that have happened in the relationships that they regret. And one of her answers was, well, I do regret cheating, but he cheated on me first, so I felt justified in my cheatation. Well, here's the thing. Doesn't really matter in this case. It doesn't necessarily matter why you cheat, but she knew ultimately that her going out and cheating was going to be the end of the relationship. And she felt justified in doing so. But does cheating sabotage the relationship? Did it fix anything in the relationship? Did it fix what was broken? Absolutely not. It further cemented the fact that that relationship was going to hell in a handbasket. So cheating was one way in which she sabotaged her relationship, and cheating could be something that you may be doing, even if it's an emotional affair. Okay, having relationships, intimate relationships, whether physical or emotional, outside of your primary relationship that jeopardize the trust in your current relationship, that could be sabotaging your relationship. Okay, number 2, accusing your partner of wrongdoing could be sabotaging your relationship. If you're constantly accusing your partner of doing something that you don't have proof of or don't know that they're doing, you could be sabotaging your relationship. Now, always when I say this, you know what comes up for me, number 1, is the Keisha Cole song, I Should Have Cheated. Now, let me tell you something about this song. I remember when that album came out. Again, sidebar, I digress. Okay, but not until I tell you this story. So I remember when that album came out and I was dating my husband at the time. And I was listening to that album nonstop. It was Keisha Cole, The Way It Is. That's the name of the album. And if you know, you know. I listened to that album nonstop and it was so good. It was a CD. It wasn't an album. Okay, CD. I listened to it nonstop, back and forth and back. Like, loved it. Okay. But what I realized after a while of listening to that, that album, I was mad all the time. I was angry all the time. And one of the songs on there was I Should Have Cheated. And it's basically that, like, you've accused me of it so much. I should have just gone ahead and done it. I should have cheated because, like, you're saying that I did it. So you're kind of pushing me and accusing me of something that I did not do, but I might as well have because, you don't trust me anyway. And so I say all that to say, sometimes we push our partners to the brink, to the demise of our own relationship by accusing them of something that maybe they haven't done. And sometimes that accusation is coming from a place of previous hurt. It's almost like we're putting up a protective barrier and bracing ourselves for what will inevitably happen rather than doing something to prevent that thing from happening. It's like you have one of those like jackhammers or something and you're just chipping away the trust. Like the trust is there. Nothing's wrong with the trust in the relationship, but you're just chipping away at it rather aggressively until the trust is completely and irrevocably broken. And that's definitely not something we want to do. So if you have a habit or a pattern of accusing your partner of doing something wrong, especially when they haven't done it, you don't have evidence of them doing it. You just anticipate that they will do it. And so you're accusing them of something that they haven't necessarily done, but you expect them to do. That is a form of sabotage in your relationships. All right. Number 3, something else that we do to sabotage our relationships is withdrawal. Again, I'm not telling y'all stuff that I think. I'm telling you things that I know. Okay. And sometimes I know these things because I have clients that experience these things. And sometimes I know these things because I've done it. And so one thing that I can be very good at, this is transparency at its finest, okay? One thing that I am very good at, and my husband will tell you, is the silent treatment. When I tell you I am a master at the silent treatment, not something I'm proud of. For me, it is an internal processing, but I can't deny that the way that it feels, especially to him, is me withdrawing, icing him out. And I recognize this does not do us any good if I do that. So it's something that I'm working on. Your girl's a work in progress. Withdrawal, icing your partner out is definitely a form of sabotage. If you are guilty of just going days without speaking, if your partner is asking you what's wrong and you keep saying nothing, the silent treatment, just like withdrawing emotionally, it does not do you any favors in terms of your relationship. It's a complete lack of communication about what's really bothering you. And ultimately, I think sometimes we do that because we want our partners to lean in a little bit more and really like press us. Okay, please tell me, please tell me, please tell me. But there becomes a point for most people when it's just like, all right, you ain't gonna tell me? Fine. I won't ask you anymore. And it's like, wait. Ask me one more time because I do want to tell you. I do want to work it out. We have to be grown. We have to put our big old panties on and we have to say the thing. We have to name the thing. We have to say the thing. We have to articulate our angst, our worry, our discontent. We have to say the thing. We can't withdraw. I'm going to have to push you, just like I push myself, to not withdraw, to hang in there and to say the thing and not ice out, because it definitely sabotages where we're going and what we want in our relationships. All right. Number 4, and this is a big one. The number 4 way in which we sabotage our romantic relationships is we withhold sex. Withholding sex. If you have ever been mad at your partner and just kind of thought to yourself, like, you know what, he gonna be asking me for something real soon. And when he does, I'm gonna pretend like I'm asleep, or I'm gonna have a headache, or I'm just gonna say no, or it's just we're not having sex until he does this thing or she does this thing. Like if you are withholding sex or using sex as a tool to get the things that you want, that's not great. Not a great way to go about it. And it could be sabotaging your relationship. Sometimes withholding sex leads to another thing, right? It leads to, I've seen too many times where a partner, they get into kind of this beef, this battle. And one of the methods of retaliation is the withholding of sex because of whatever they were pissed off about. And then because they're not having sex, the other partner decides, okay, well, if I can't get it here, I'm going to get it somewhere else. And then there's the cheatation that happens. And then after that, it leads to another thing. And you think you broke up because of the cheating, or you think you're having problems because of the cheating, when in actuality, we start peeling back layers and it's the thing that happened before the cheating that led to the cheating, right? So we have to uncover all of those little things. And if it's withholding sex, I think there's a better way to go about getting the things that you need and want in your relationship rather than withholding a part, the most intimate part of your relationship that really is an integral part of our most intimate relationships. Withholding sex is a form of manipulation. And if you don't want to be a manipulator in your relationship, then that's just not the way to go. Now, I'm not saying, okay, that you reward bad behavior, that no matter what you do, I'm going to have sex with you. No, it doesn't work like that either. But if you are withholding sex in order to get what you want or to manipulate your partner, then, sweetie, you might be sabotaging your relationship. All right. The number 5 way in which we sabotage our relationship is not being honest about the things that get under our skin. Now, this goes right along with the withdrawal or icing out. But when your partner asks you what's wrong, you say nothing. Or if something is bothering you, but you deny that it's bothering you, you say, oh, no, that's fine. I don't mind. You're not helping yourself. You're not helping the relationship. And ultimately, it could be sabotaging, because what happens when you do that is if they've asked you specifically, what's wrong, or does this bother you, or is there a problem with such and such? And you say, no, there's not a problem. Guess what happens? That behavior continues. That thing that's getting on your nerves continues. It snowballs. It festers. It gets worse. And it continues until it's like you know what? Okay. If you're from the South, right? And you eat grits, not going to talk about whether you put sugar in them or not. Because I don't want to start a war with you. I love you. Okay. But if you made grits before and they've been up too high and you left them covered on the stove, you know what happens. You know what happens. You have a complete and utter mess on your stove. Grits are everywhere. They're horrible to have to clean up. And don't let them dry, honey. Oh my God. So grits, it's like a pot of grits. It's like a pot of grits. When you are not honest about the things that are getting under your skin, it bubbles up. And then at some point it comes out and it's a complete and utter mess. So what we have to do is be honest about the things, even the little things that do bother us, okay? Even if, we don't have to be nitpicky about every little thing. We don't. But there are some things that do get under our skin, and they are just what makes us us. There are quirks, there are differences, there are oddities. And certainly if there are some things that your partner may be doing or not doing that is getting under your skin, I think there are gentle ways in which we can tell them that. Without just holding everything in, especially if it's something that really does matter to us and will boil over at some point if we don't address those things. So do your best to address those things so that you don't end up with a pot of grits on the stove everywhere. Okay. All right. Number 6, the number 6 way in which we sabotage our romantic relationships is not showing up as our true and authentic selves. Okay. I liken our relationships, especially as we begin them, almost like a job interview. When you go on a job interview, you show up as your best self, right? The self that, like, if you could package it, put a bow around it, like you show up in that way, as you should, right? Because you're a bad bitch, okay? You should show up as your best self, but you don't show up on your job interview and say, you know what? I'm late all the time. Like, girl, I can never get anywhere on time. Or I don't show up at a job interview and say, you know what? Like I said at the beginning of this episode, I am a professional procrastinator. I am the best at it. I'm going to wait until the last minute to turn in every assignment you ever give me, right? We would never show up at a job interview like that. We also don't show up in relationships like that. We don't show up and say, hey, I've cheated. I cheat on every girlfriend I've ever had. I never follow through with the things I say I'm going to do. I lie all the time. I make up excuses for why I don't do things. I turn every argument around on my partner. I never take responsibility. Like, nobody's going to do that. Nobody's showing up to a relationship like that, right? We all show up as our best self in a way, that hurts us when we don't show up as our true and authentic selves, right? We're presenting what we want the person to see, feel, believe. Eventually, after a while, once we get, cozy and relaxed in relationship, our true and authentic self actually shows up and comes out, right? And we would hope that the things that do come out, the character flaws, our oddities, like I just spoke of, that those things are things that are either manageable or tolerable to our partners. Some of those things that I mentioned before, like maybe cheating on every partner, lying all the time, not being who we say we are, not following through. If those are the things that show up, we will feel like we have been duped, right? And because we know how that might feel, we got to look at it on the flip side. When we don't show up as our true and authentic self in relationship, eventually it will come out. Perfect example. When I started dating my husband, it was not football season. And my husband is very, very, very much into football. He is obsessed. He will tell you. And he did tell me that. He showed up as his authentic self. He's like, listen, I know it's extreme. I know it's a lot when football season comes. Like, I have been told that it's a bit much, and I agree with it, but that's how I am, right? And I was like, okay, fine. And he literally thought that, like, okay, you say that now, but you're not going to be okay with it because I know it's obsessive. I know it's too much. He's like, I'll try my best to, like, be attentive, but football season, I can't. I'm just, I'm telling you now. And I look back on that now and I so appreciate it. Like, that he was like, this is, in some cases, it could be seen as a flaw, but this is who I am. I'm letting you know this up front. It's been a problem in previous relationships. So if it's a problem for you, feel free to let me know. But I'm honest and being authentic with you on the jump. And like, just, I didn't care. He didn't believe that I didn't care about that. But it was who he was. He showed up as his authentic and true self. And I had the opportunity to say, this is going to bother me, or it's not, or I can do some workarounds or whatever. I didn't say, going back to number 5, I didn't say, oh, it's fine. I'm going to be happy with it. It's going to be okay. Knowing that if I don't get the attention that I need, it's going to get under my skin. And that's just because that was not me. I didn't feel that way. Now, if it had been an issue for me and I'm like, you know what, on Sundays, I really like to go to church and then to the movies and then to do all of these things. Football season is really going to be a problem for me. That would have been something for me to say up front so that I could be my true and authentic self, or decide, you know what, this really isn't going to be the relationship for me. Right? So showing up as your true and authentic self is super important for both of you. And if you're not doing that, it could, in the long run, sabotage your relationship because eventually your true and authentic self is going to show up. And when that happens, you run the risk of the person that you're partnered with not knowing who the hell you are because they don't know if the first one was you or this current one is you. So just showing up as your true and authentic self from the beginning is the best thing that you can do. All right. Number 7, setting traps and setting your partner up to fail. This is another form of manipulation, actually, where we set traps for our partner. We do things to see if they take the bait, right? I've had patients and clients that have done some really interesting things in order to see if their partner really loved them, rather than trusting what their partner said or looking at their actions and seeing if they added up to what they said. They would set traps. What that might have looked like was, having a girlfriend pretend to call them or come on to them or something like that, or a number that they didn't know, text their partner to see how they responded, or having a friend slide into their DMs to see if they bite or to see if they say that they have a girlfriend, like that kind of stuff, which seems so juvenile, right? I think when you do things like snooping, when you do things like setting traps, when you do things that set your relationship up to fail or set your partner up to fail, the intention a lot of times is for them to prove that they can be trusted. But inevitably, when you do this type of thing, when you set traps, when you set them up to fail, you already don't trust them. So you're trying to get them to prove to be trustworthy when you already don't trust them. And so we need to look at the reason why you already don't trust them, see if that's justified. And then my question is, why are you forcing yourself to be in a relationship with someone that you already don't trust? Answer that question, okay? And come holler at your girl, okay? Come holler at your girl. All right. Number 8 is if you are dealing with some borderline personality traits. Obviously, this is a mental health diagnosis, borderline personality disorder. And certainly there are people that have some of these traits that aren't formally diagnosed or don't have enough of these traits to be diagnosed. But I'm going to give you some examples of some of those traits that you may recognize in your current or past relationships. And if these things are present, these things could be sabotaging your relationships, all right? So if you have these patterns of intense highs and lows in your relationships where you're all in, is super passionate, and then, the next thing you know, you're fighting, you're beefing, you're accusing each other, is crying and screaming and, a lot of hatred. But then the next thing you have this really passionate makeup sex and it's super intense and you can't get out of bed because you're having sex all the time. And then the next thing you know, you're just throwing pots and pans, accusing each other of infidelity and lying and all of the things. Intense highs, intense lows, right? That's one thing. Another thing that could be showing up for you is intense fear of abandonment. And what that does for you is make you super clingy. Like every time your partner leaves, you want them to call you as soon as they get in the car and call you when they get to where they're going. And if they go on a trip, you calling them 50 times to see what they're doing and where they are, who they're eating with and what's going on. And, they go on the trip with their guy friends and you surprise them and show up because you want to be there. Or perhaps you're dating someone and they're going on a trip and you just decide, I'm going to be in the same city at the same time because, that would be cool. And I'll just surprise them and show up where they are. Yeah, girl. Okay. Fear of abandonment, being super clingy. Another characteristic would be almost like smothering, enmeshment, where You have to be up under them all the time, super enmeshed, super close. I love seeing couples that are best friends and do a lot of things together, but I also think it's important to have relationships outside of the two of you and having something to come back and talk to each other about other than what you guys have done together. So total entanglement, enmeshment, spending every waking hour of the day and night together, not having relationships outside of each other. A good example of this would be like going out with your girlfriends and bringing your partner along because you just need to be next to them and they're your best friends and they might as well come too. And if they can't come, then I can't go because we do everything together. And that is something that could inevitably sabotage the relationship. Another is, when we talked about this a little bit earlier, is manipulation, but manipulation in the form of self-harm. And this one gets to be super dangerous. I have seen way too many times where I've had clients or patients that have threatened to harm themselves or alluded to not wanting to be here as a way to keep their partner. And that is a total mental health emergency because it puts a partner in a position of having to stay with that person for fear that they might lose their life, and putting the responsibility of their life in their partner's hands. And that is a terrible place to put someone. And if you're doing that, you are sabotaging your romantic relationship. But not only that, your mental health is at jeopardy at that point. And you really do need to seek some professional mental health treatment. Okay. With any of these borderline personality traits, it creates an intense emotional toll on our partners, which could lead to the breakdown of the relationship. So if any of these things seem present in your relationships, if you've done these things, if you have a pattern of doing these things, understand that these could be things that are sabotaging your relationships, and they create an intense emotional toll on your partner. And because of that, the relationship as well. All right. Number 9 is codependency. Codependency falls right in line with some of the borderline stuff that we talked about, but you don't have to be diagnosed with borderline personality disorder to have patterns of codependency. Now, codependency is when we excessively rely on our partner for validation, for our self-worth, while also neglecting our own needs and our own setting aside our own boundaries for them, right? If you have a habit of people pleasing, of not setting boundaries, of losing yourself in relationships, okay? Those of you who get into a relationship and you just completely ghost your friends, you throw yourself completely into a relationship, you do everything for your partner, and with your partner, you put your partner first. You don't take care of yourself or do the things that you need to do because their needs are so much more important than your own. Excusing your partner's negative traits and behaviors. Perhaps they are abusing substances. Perhaps they are cheating or lying. Perhaps they're not good people, but because you want to be with them, you excuse those behaviors and traits and actions. That is what codependency is. In a way, you're doing this because it makes you feel validated. It makes you feel better to be with them than to not. Okay. Or at least we think that's what's happening. But in reality, our self-worth a lot of times is not where it needs to be. It's in the toilet. And this relationship doesn't make us feel better because we're constantly chasing that validation from this person. Or if we were able to take 10 steps back and really look at the relationship from a higher elevation, we would see that I am doing a lot more than I need to for someone who doesn't do the same for me. Okay. And that is when you know you're in a codependent relationship or you are codependent. And there are certainly things that you can do to address that, working with a relationship coach or therapist, going to Codependency Anonymous meetings, which I highly, highly recommend. I think they do wonders for people in codependent relationships. There are several books that you can read on the topic of codependency to see if you are codependent. And if any of these traits resonate with you or you found yourself in relationship doing those things, then that is something that I would recommend highly that you seek help on. All right, we are at number 10. The number 10 way in which we sabotage our romantic relationships is staying in those relationships well after they are over. Have you ever had food in your refrigerator that is expired? Shots fired, okay? I know that I'm not going to say we all, because some of y'all are better at this than I am, okay? But I'll just speak for myself. Again, transparency. There are times when I open up my refrigerator and there are things in there that should not be, okay? I have a housekeeper that comes over about once a month. We'll talk about that in another episode of my ADHD Chronicles. But I have a housekeeper that comes over once a month, and most of the time when they come over, I am here. Sometimes I'm not here. And the days when I'm not here, it drives me insane because what she will do, she goes in and cleans out my refrigerator, which I appreciate and love, okay? High class problems. She goes in and cleans out the refrigerator, but when I tell you, she checks the date on everything, okay? And sometimes, like, I hope this don't sound crazy, right? But like things like hot sauce, like milk, okay, fine. If there's an expiration date on milk, please throw it away. There's no way I'm drinking it. There's no way I'm putting it in anything. Sour cream, any kind of dairy product, just go ahead and toss it. If it has mold on it, go ahead and let it go, okay? Not that I have a whole bunch of stuff in my refrigerator with mold, but occasionally a block of cheese might get past me, okay? It might. Or I might have cooked something, put it in Tupperware, and just forgot because it was in the back of the refrigerator, okay? Please don't judge me, okay? Judge your mama. But sometimes things like hot sauce that might be vinegary, right? I don't feel like they expire. I don't feel like they expire as quickly as they might think that they expire. Something else. What else is it that she's thrown away? Like pickles or something like that. Like she'll throw away some random things that I'm like, I would have never thrown that away. I'm still eating that. Okay. So I came home one day and I know this is a total, like, I'm veering off, right? But I came home one day and my husband was like, where's the hot sauce? And I'm like, it's in the refrigerator. He's like, there is absolutely. Now, I keep about 5 to 8 bottles of hot sauce in the refrigerator. When I tell you there was only one, there was one container and it was a small, like, dropper bottle of some Fresno chili hot sauce that I had gotten at a thing. And the only reason why she didn't throw that away is because it didn't have a date on it at all. Okay. But she threw away all the hot sauce because it had expired. Now, what am I going to say to her? Don't throw away things that are expired? No, because there are certainly some things in there that could have been expired that really did need to be thrown away. I'm not going to tell her that. However, we like to stay in relationships well past the expiration date. That's where I'm going with this story. So sometimes we stay in relationships way longer. We know that they're over. We know that they're not good for us. We know that we don't need to be in them anymore. Yet we stay in them way longer than we should and or need to. And sometimes, and the reasons why we do that, so many different reasons. Sometimes we just don't want to be the one to break up. Sometimes we'd rather not be alone. There's so many reasons why we might stay in it. But ultimately, the longer that you stay in it, especially when you know the relationship isn't good for you, when you know it's already over, you are not doing yourself or the relationship any favors, and the relationship continues to get worse by staying in it. So that is another way in which we sabotage our relationship, staying in it longer than we need to, hanging on past the expiration date. All right, those are the 10 ways in which we sabotage our romantic relationships. It is not an exhaustive list. And certainly if there are ways that I did not mention that you have experienced that sabotage your relationships, I want to hear about it. Why don't you do me a favor and email me at support@drtiffanyhenry.com. That's support@drtiffanyhenry.com. support@drtiffanyhenry.com. Email me if you have another way in which you have sabotaged your relationships, and I can add it to the list, honey. We can make an addendum because I know that it's happening. And I know that whether we want to or not, we must acknowledge it if we want to fix our relationships. Okay. So I hope this information has been helpful to you. I hope that if you do see yourself in any of these traits or any of these patterns of sabotaging relationships, that you will reach out. I have a few appointments available this month for some of my VIP intensive coaching. If that is something you might be interested in, Again, go ahead and email me at support@drtiffanyhenry.com, and we will get you set up on a 15-minute coffee chat where I can get more information about you and tell you a little bit more about the intensive to see if it's something that you might be appropriate for and interested in. If you're interested in doing that, go ahead and reach out to me and we'll get you a link to set up that 15-minute coffee chat. All right. This has been another episode of Fix Your Relationships with Dr. Tiff. I will see you again next week. Ciao. Hey, babe, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. My goal with this podcast is to bless you with information that helps you fix those relationships that are most important to you, but not before you do the self-work needed to make sure that those relationships thrive. If this episode was exactly what you needed, then guess what? Somebody else probably needs it too. So do me and them a favor. Please share this episode with your good girlfriend and let her know about the podcast. And while you're at it, hop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. This really helps to grow the podcast and puts it right in front of other women who are desperate to work on their relationships and themselves. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to join our community of like-minded women all on a journey to become the one. You can sign up for free at becometheone.myflowdesk.com/email. I know that's a lot, so just go on over to the show notes and click that link there. Thanks again for listening to Fix Your Relationships with Dr. Tiff. I'll see you right back here next week.